Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Get Some. I am your sommelier Danielle Lindau with 5 to Wine Time, and today we are going to get some port. I'm really excited about this series, this segment of the series, because I think that fortified wine and dessert wines don't get the credit that they deserve, and they've been around for centuries. The first records of actual port being imported to another country was back in the 1600s from Portugal to London. But in the Americas, I don't see the love for this beautiful style of wine as much. So I wanted to showcase it, 3 different styles, 2 of them being from Portugal. We have a ruby red port and a tawny port. And then my third wine is actually a port from Australia. You can make port and fortified wines and dessert wines anywhere in the world. You just have to use the proper techniques and the proper grapes to make your port. So, as I said, I'm really excited about this. There's actually 6 different types of ports, but I'm going to focus on 2 of the major ones that I see in the marketplace, which are ruby ports and tawny ports. So, without further ado, I'm going to dive right into our first wine. This is a ruby port coming in from Portugal. It is a reserve port though. It's bin 27. So this wine has an average age of 8 years of maturing in oak. Now with ruby ports, what they do is they age them in giant wooden formats so that they can keep their color and keep their freshness and have a very minimal amount of oxidation. So that's where the name ruby comes from, because the wine does have a ruby quality. So let me move these out of the way and we're gonna get right into the ruby port. So our first wine of the breakdown of the 3 ports is the bin 27 Porto Reserve. This is a ruby red port coming in from Portugal, and it has been aged in giant large wooden barrels. So again, to keep that beautiful freshness, the fruit forwardness, while keeping the color nice and ruby red. I am using usually what I use for sometimes champagne or my cognacs or digestifs, glassware, just so we can see the color a little bit better. There's even specialty glasses for port themselves, but I wanted you to be able to see the beautiful colors of the port. Port is a fortified wine, which means it is a wine that begins maceration as well as fermentation is done by foot still, where they are feet pressing the wines in a giant vat to make it still nice and delicate, but it's a quick fermentation, a quick maceration. And then while the fermentation is occurring, they quickly stop it with the neutral grain spirit so that it has the high alcohol but the beautiful residual sugar still there. So this wine is 20% alcohol, which in the wine world is a high alcohol. There's a lot of Napa cabs that are hitting that 15%. So we're at 20% alcohol. There's a lot of warmth when it comes to ports. That's why we enjoy the ports usually after dinner or with dessert. Even after coffee, you can enjoy a beautiful port after. So, as you saw when I was pouring it, it's a little bit thicker than a usual red wine. This is, just like the name, it is ruby red. This wine has been aged for 4 years in barrels and then before being put into bottles. So keeping that freshness, keeping that liveliness of the fruit forward. There's a little bit of staining that you can see in the glassware itself, but just a really pretty color red. On the nose, I'm getting dried raisins, dried plums, figs, as well as blackberry, almost like a berry pie, but that you cooked the reduction down almost too much, where it's just almost like, it's like taking the berry concentration of a pie and reducing it just a little too far that it becomes kind of a thick, kind of sticky sauce instead of that pie filling. But this is a very intense port. It is fruit driven with vanilla and nuttiness, almost a hazelnut on the nose. It's just beautiful. I keep looking at the color, but purple's one of my favorite colors, so. Right away, with the amount of residual sugar in the wine, I can feel the weight on the palate. The fruit is still driving the bus, very blackberry, black cherry, almost that jam notes of a blackberry, mulberry jam with a little bit of vanilla extract almost actually. Just that sweetness just comes overpowering, not just on the residual sugar, but the fruit quality is cooked and stewed fruit notes. The vanilla, the nutmeg, it's just really quite juicy on the palate. Again, 20% alcohol, so there is quite a bit of warmth. I feel like my face is getting a little flushed, but beautiful warmth, a beautiful dessert wine. The trick is ruby ports can be aged for quite a long time, 20 to 30 years, but if you want to enjoy and experience port without breaking the bank, always look for the wines that say reserve on it for a ruby port, because that's actually wine that's meant to be drank young. So this wine, it is 2021. This is the perfect time to drink this wine as it is still youthful, it is juicy, it is fruity. So this was a beautiful example of ruby port, showing the over ripeness and the juiciness of the fruit, the quality of the color, the taste of it as well. But I hope this jazzed you up about this whole different element of the wine world, of the fortified wines. This is our ruby port. I still have 2 more segments coming up in the next couple of weeks about ports. So make sure you like and subscribe, grab yourself a glass because it is 5 to wine time, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.